Actually, I have a great lead in on it. I'm gonna apologize now. Hey everybody, Deb John, Edel Portland. Friday, you know what we're doing. We don't always do these on Fridays, but it's been going that way. We get to hang with Lyf today, man. Flying fish. We are here on East Burnside, y'all. We're getting all urban. We're getting all city. We're getting all Portland today. And you're gonna hear that right behind us. We're literally sitting right out here at East Burnside in a cool tent. I mean, you've done so well, like your outside seating here, like the warmth, the fans, the wintertime. Like,
coolest parking lot in Portland.
Coolest parking lot in Portland. I have to make a joke, and I've already apologized to Deb. I don't know if Dean got that or not. Deb, Mom, used to have the nickname Burnside.
So it was meant to be to come here.
So here we are on Burnside. So Deb is at her, this is her namesake, right over here. The crime was committed not too far down. But, you know, for those of you who don't know Portland, Burnside is 2 ways for part of the east side, and then becomes a one-way. And, you know, you get turned around. It happens. We all do it.
Yeah, I was being the designated driver kind of thing, and I dropped everybody off, and then I went around the block or something. Anyway, so I'm get around it, and all of a sudden I realized, oh, all these lights are coming at me.
Headlights.
You know, and then they're on the other side going, stop.
Yeah.
But I didn't get hurt, thank goodness. But yeah, you would think that. But you know, if you're not familiar with, it isn't the last time it happened.
Sure. Well, we were living in Newport at the time, so we weren't like living in Portland and up here all the time. So, and I'm going to use Newport as a. But no, let's just move on into it.
Yes.
Seafood stuff. Flying fish.
Yeah.
I mean, just how the name got here, you have to tell that story. And just, you know, the restaurant, the family recipe on the salmons, the work you're doing for, you know, the bluefin conversation. We got to talk about that.
Yep.
This guy does incredible things, and you need to be very appreciative of what this human is doing.
Thank you so much.
For all of us. Engagement, involvement, education, and then just throwing up a really cool place.
Well, thank you.
Enjoy it all.
Thank you. What a journey! What a journey it's been. Yeah, you know, I grew up around a fish market. My parents had a fish market growing up as a kid, so they named it Flying Fish Company the year before I was born in 1979. I was born in 80. And then my dad used to fly little Cessna planes, little single-engine Cessna planes back and forth from my hometown over in northern Idaho, where it was landlocked and there's no good seafood. So he'd fly the little plane over to Seattle, pick it up in Seattle, and fly back to Sandpoint. So it was Flying Fish Company. So they were the original people who named the business, and I'm coming after the trademark infringements of all the people that have named it after since then. No, I'm just kidding. I could give a shit. But so that's how it started. Been in the business my whole life. I started my own branch of it just about during the recession time, 2009, getting laid off full-time work and couldn't really find other work. So I started selling fish at the farmers markets out in Park City, actually. And then about 2 years after that, I moved here and did it again here. Decided to raise my daughter here. So it's been late 2010 is when I started here in Portland, and it's been an amazing journey. You know, coming here, it just the difference of the clientele, the people, of how you all care about where your food is coming from has really been the differentiating factor for Flying Fish Company, and for me, it was a black and white because I had the business set up in Utah, and there were people there that cared about their seafood, and it was awesome, but it was just fewer people. Whereas I came here and set it up, and then all of a sudden, you know, Ben Templer did an article on me that first June of like 2011 in Portland Monthly, and then boom, people started knocking like, "Where's this fish guy out of this truck?" And that was when I was on the corner of 50th and Hawthorne at that point, before I got down to Kruger's on 23rd and Hawthorne. And it was just amazing. People really cared about where their products were coming from. I knew that all I needed to do is get a piece of fish into their mouth because I knew the quality of it. I had sourced it properly, and I just needed them to try it. Just give me one chance, try it out, and then it's just grown and grown from there. So what a journey it's been from one guy selling fish out of a truck to 25 employee brick and mortar, restaurant and fish market. It's super grateful, and I've got a few gray hairs to show it to show what it's been.
You're looking all right.
Thank you.
You look like 12.
Oh, that's funny you say 12 because I act like 12 all the time, so it's great.
I know
okay
how
with
that
12.
goes. I'm 8.
I can see that too.
Anyway, that's wonderful to hear that story. What a great, start. And I know that you're really excited about it. You want to tell a little bit about, what you're doing right now as far as all the fingers you have your pies, you have your fingers in.
Yes. Yeah.
All the fish, you have your fingers.
Yeah.
That's right.
And, what all you're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, over the years, I've evolved the business. I used to sell my whole, I used to get in extra fish and I would distribute it out to different restaurants, and that really helped to build the name of Flying Fish and get the reputation going, along with just the retail stuff directly to consumers. And then I expanded my smoked salmon business, my family recipe smoked salmon that we've been doing since when I was a kid, forever. So at a certain point, I expanded that part of the business as well. But then when I came here to Burnside, I just shrunk it all down to just this location. So instead of spreading myself thinner and having all these different parts of the business that I do, I just brought it all down to here. This was a big enough venture as it was. We're actually right now we're celebrating 5 years here on Burnside and 14 years here in Portland. And so since then, I've really just been focused just on this location alone. I personally do a lot of additional stuff with fisheries policy work and business consulting and that sort of stuff. So we can talk a little bit more about that too, because that's a very fascinating part of the business and just of my personal passion, being let's say a conservationist at heart. Like, I care about the environment, I care about the ocean, I care about how humans have an impact, such a big impact on this planet Earth that we live on, and I know that's something that you guys have a deep value with as well. So we're definitely in alignment in those categories.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And it's, we've had a few different conversations prior to this and a couple weeks ago setting this up. And, the fish game and the things that happen here in Oregon is an interesting story.
Oh yeah,
to tell.
It continues to be
with some landmines.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I think for me, having been on the coast and worked with this various layers of platforms, tiers, that seeing where we are now and knowing how much work has gone into it because of what you've done and some of the people that we all know together.
Yep.
And people up here in Portland, people who are out on the coast, people who are in Salem trying to do their best to, keep things going. The Winter Waters girls and, Mylene, and I'm like, just all of the stuff that's going on. But it is encouraging to me to see where we are with it, knowing full well there's so much work to be done to letting people know, like, let's keep it local. Let's eat our own fish. Let's and see fair outside of the water, right around the water. Like, you see vegetables, oysters, keeping the water clean. Like, and you guys all know bees and water, y'all, is my sign off. It's my signature. I'm like, that bees and water.
That's
we
right.
don't have nothing. We ain't got
That's
nothing.
so true. No, I get it. There has been so much work. I love bees too. I used to have beehives here on the roof at Flying Fish. I'm a beekeeper.
There you go.
So I love that stuff. It's all part of it. And water is super important. That was part of the thing that we did with that Shuck Portland event that we created with Mylene and Jared, myself, and Natalia up till 2020. We were raising money to donate to places like Friends of Netark Bay and Wetland Conservancy and those places that were helping to protect the estuaries in these areas that are so important for ecosystems, for oysters, which filter the water, for juvenile salmon and other little crabs and shrimp and all the different species that live in those things. So super important. And that's all part of this whole part of the fisheries policy work that I do is ecosystem based fisheries policy. So it's not just looking at how many salmon are out in the ocean or tuna or whatever the species is, but it's looking at all the different components of their life cycle, so that we're not just trying to harvest X or not harvest X amount of them, but you're actually looking at what else it takes in order for those to be successful and to flourish as a species. Ecosystem-based management, it's super important.
It is.
The cycle of it all. People just don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just blundering around out there. You know what I'm saying? And I think we've been given fair warning and have been given fair warning for what, 20 years now? I don't know, a long time.
Yeah.
And we just continue to think it's all going to be okay, but it's not going to all be okay.
It's not with how we're acting or treating it.
No, not how we're treating it. And, I keep seeing these as I'm scrolling. I keep seeing all these, and we'll go back to fish, but, it does involve fish. All the plastics that are actually in our body and in the fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my
It's
God.
Like, it's like we're eating like 3 debit cards worth of plastic.
A year. Is that what it is?
A year.
Yeah.
It's like pretty much they haven't found anything out there and pretty far out that doesn't have trace amounts
Sure.
of plastic.
Well,
Like that's just the way. That's it.
Yeah.
We
It's-
want to talk about the beach and all the microplastics.
it's pretty daunting.
We want to get
What's really interesting about that, just real quick, and on a subject that is controversial for obvious reasons, because we have commodity industries involved with it, is farming of fish.
Yeah.
And there are, just like there's beef, there's Carmen Ranch that does awesome regenerative, grass-fed, grass-finished, the whole, like the best that you can get. And then there's McDonald's beef.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for fish. There's farm-raised Atlantic salmon that you get at other big chain grocery stores. And then there is some farms that are doing more organic feed and no hormones and no antibiotics and lower stocking densities and that sort of stuff. But why I wanted to mention that or bring that up is because as my brain, when it comes into this topic, it happened however many years ago that Fukushima happened as well. There was the earthquake off Japan, all the nuclear waste ended up getting into the ocean. Those fisheries got closed down and stuff, but there are some species that, go across the ocean. So there's chances of those radioactive material making it, to fish that get on something in this area. And really it was a conversation I had at that point. If you really think about it, the only way to fully control your food source is to have full control over all the components of the food source. Yeah. So really a recirculating aquaculture system in I've got this farm that I used to buy trout with on Savi Island. Island Springs Hatchery is what I think it's called. And Rich Clee. And because I used to have an aquaponics setup at my house where we grow fish and veggies together. Yes. So I'd buy trout and then grow them out and then harvest them and eat them. And really, the only way that you're going to have full control of your food source is if you have a full controlled system. So it's your own water, your own ponds, you control the feed that goes into them, and then there's no plastics. Because guess what? You controlled everything that went into them. Yeah. Whereas when any wild stock of anything is going to have, you're going to have some, we've been polluting the ocean. Yeah. Bottom line. So it's an unfortunate thing, especially for me. Like this is my livelihood is making a living off of the ocean, but also helping to protect it. So it's I'm shooting myself in the foot by even talking about it in a way, but it's that near and dear to me because we all have to eat, but we all have to make good choices about where our food is coming from. And obviously we don't want to be putting plastics in our body. So we want to make choices that hopefully limit the amount of plastic they put in. So aquaculture is a topic that needs more discovery, more exploration. 100%. There's more work going to be done on that. We're going to have a speakeasy little talk here at Flying Fish with Surfrider Foundation coming up in the next couple months. They're having a social here at the end of the month for the Portland chapter, but then at the next one after that, we're going to do it on aquaculture to talk more about what aquaculture is, like how it can be sustainable, and so it's not such a negative looked at thing in discussion. So that was long-winded, I know. But
but it's an
important topic.
I mean, that's the stuff, man. I mean, that's, and when we first met a couple of weeks ago, for you guys know, when I had the wine bar, all that stuff over in Newport and dealing with the stuff firsthand the best I can in a 15-seat joint over there, I have been following this gentleman and stalking this gentleman for a long time because of all the things you just said and what's going on, and people who give a shit, and what's going on, and looking out for like, hey, y'all, come on, like just learn a little bit, and then having a fun speakeasy event to convey that information. It's like we don't have to sit in a classroom and a guy and a pointing and a laser pointer and a thing and I don't know what schools classrooms look like anymore. But
this is our fish classroom. No, actually, Alana's coming next week for the winter water thing. We're doing it right here in the what we call the beer garden. Yeah. We're doing a trivia night, a seaweed and ocean trivia night here. It's already sold out, so there's no opportunity for additional on that one. But we're going to keep doing fun stuff like that. So you can go to our website, flyingfishpdx.com, or follow any of the other resources around. And talk about all the important things. We're going to do something with OMSI on a seafood kind of an event the day before Earth Day in April 29th, I think it is, or 21st or something. So as much different stuff as we can do like that. It's all my little side passion projects that is not about the money. It's just about the sharing this enthusiasm that you see that I have. It's a deep desire to share, and I feel like that impact that I have being able to share my enthusiasm and passion with people can help them make better decisions, which ultimately will help the earth in the long run. Yeah. So that's my little piece of like, how can I influence in a better way to our impact on the earth? So that's how I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Like it's our packaging, it's the things that's going down the drain, it's it's like just think about that.
Yes.
Like you are going to be eating that.
Yeah. Or just choosing where that product came from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just like,
and to that, and talking about using sharing where it comes from, the bluefin thing you were talking about a few moments ago.
Yes. So we're talking with right now. I'm part of the Pacific Council for helping to manage the fisheries that are here off the West Coast, and the department I work in or volunteer for basically is the highly migratory species. So those are the swordfish and the tuna, and right now we're in an international meeting down in Monterey with the USA, and Korea, and Japan, and Ecuador, and Mexico, and all these countries that all have a vested interest in bluefin tuna, because the bluefin tuna stock was depleted, and then they've had rebuilding framework put into place, and the bluefin have been rebounding awesome. So they're actually hitting milestones twice as fast as they anticipated.
That's awesome.
So now there's an opportunity to potentially invite more fishing, which that's what you do with conservation, is you cut back so that they start to rebuild, and then you can start to give some of that fishing opportunity back. But right now we're in these conversations down in Monterey, California, with all these different countries about managing those stocks and setting the framework in place so that we can continue to monitor and see and have the scientific data behind that. Because you could imagine it's a big blue ocean out there, and it's really hard to manage those stocks, much less with an international. Nobody is obligated to do anything when you're talking about the high seas. Once you get 200 miles off of our shore, that's out of our EEZ, our exclusive economic zone, and at that point anybody can do whatever the F they want. So trying to get these countries to collaborate and cooperate and agree to doing these measures and agree to quotas and how we count those fish and what's harvested is really important work and difficult work, and oh my God, scientific, holy cow, you should see these formulas. It's pretty remarkable how these PhD scientists and how they compile the data and fishing effort and unit per fishing effort catch, and oh my gosh, it's but I like it. It's fun stuff. But I'm still learning, even after all these years of 10 years of doing fisheries policy. There's still so much that even me being a professional in the seafood industry, I'm still learning a lot.
That's so all that and a beer and oysters too.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You can come on down and hear it right from the man.
We keep it much more simple for the trivia nights. We're talking about just simple topics that makes it fun. It's not heavy and not doesn't make your brain hurt too bad.
Right.
Because you got to let the beer chill it out a little bit.
Yeah. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to ask, how do you choose what you're putting on your menu? Is it by what's available, or?
Yeah, so so we've got the fish market here where you can buy a piece of fish and take it home and cook it yourself.
Mhm.
That's how the business started. And then it wasn't until I got into Providor when I had the little oyster bar in the corner there, where I did some oysters, and then I did poke and ceviche and some smoked salmon platters and stuff. And then here we got here in early 2020 for the full-blown restaurant, and now the restaurant is 75% of the sales of the business. So it's really taken over the business. So as far as the fish market is concerned, I sell what's in season. So it's just like going to a farmer's market. You don't have the farmers that are defrosting something,
Right.
from the last year's harvest and just putting it out there for sale. It's what's available at the time. So what's available in the fish market, in the fresh case in the fish market, is what's in season at that time.
Yeah.
So this time of year, we've got the local Dungeness crabs that are coming in. Of course, all the shellfish, so clams and mussels and oysters. It's the best time of year for oysters. The colder waters are awesome for oysters. Even though everybody wants to eat oysters in the middle of the summer when it's hot and they eat these cold oysters, it's not actually the best time of year. Now is the best. As far as fish, we've got petrale sole, rockfish. Then we get some fish in from Hawaii. We get East Coast sea scallops in.
Okay.
Bay shrimp are starting up here in the next little bit as well. Pick crab meat, that sort of stuff. So that's what you see in the fish market this time of year. In the summertime, it's salmon and halibut and local albacore tuna comes in and all that sort of stuff. So that changes. Now I do have frozen albacore tuna.
Sure.
Those fish are only here from July, August, September.
Yeah.
So they get filleted and vacuum packaged and they stay frozen in the freezer. So I still sell those species, but they're still frozen.
Yeah.
Whereas regular grocery stores and other fish markets will take that frozen fillet and just defrost it and put it in the fresh case. But it's not actually fresh. That's just defrosted fish.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different model. So that's my answer to what's available and how I make those choices for the fish market and what's available at the moment. Now for the restaurant, it's a little bit different because we are a high volume restaurant. Like I said, we've got 25 employees. We've got hundreds of people that come through here a day. Fish and chips is our number one seller all the time. Oysters come shortly after that. And then it's our salmon burger and fish tacos and poke and all that stuff. So in order to have all those kind of menu items, you have to have consistency with your supply.
Sure.
So you can't just hope that the fisherman actually comes back in and brings you your supply. You have to know that it's going to be there because guess what? We needed 20 pounds of salmon for the poke. And so we have to use a frozen salmon, and the wild salmon only comes in the summer anyway.
Sure.
So we use like Bristol Bay, wild Alaskan sockeye salmon that's been filleted and pin boned up in Alaska. And then they vacuum package it in those clear bags so it doesn't get freezer burned, and then bring it down frozen. So we'll take and defrost 10 or 20 pounds of that each day to process out for the poke. And same with the albacore tuna that we use. We use the local albacore tuna for the poke. So, and then we do use fresh rockfish fillet for the fish and chips, which is a lot different. Most places use like frozen true cod, which is an Alaska species. But we use fresh rockfish here from the Pacific Coast. So it comes from either the Oregon coast all the way up to BC. And rockfish is delicious.
Yeah,
it's kind of in the old day, or like, remember, I think it was Ocean Conservancy a while back did this whole, or Oceana did that fish fraud survey where they went around and tested all the sushi bars and fish markets as well to see how many people were mislabeling fish, and it ended up being, in multiple cities across the nation, like 60% of fish was mislabeled. One of the points of that, sometimes it was like something called tuna, it wasn't tuna, or like scallop, they would like skate, they would take skate and plug it and they call it a scallop, and it wasn't a scallop at all. So those were the blatant ones. But then another one that was part of that 60% of the misinformation was actually a rockfish that they would call Pacific snapper. It's not a snapper at all, but they would put the word Pacific snapper. There is no snappers on our coast. That's a goldfish. But they would put Pacific snapper just because people know the word snapper and they buy more snapper than they would rockfish. Even though, like you just said, rockfish is amazing, it's delicious, it's perfect, white, flaky, moist, flavorful.
There's a lot of
just
it.
perfect fish. There's a lot of it. Overall, like some of the species are still in trouble.
Sure.
There's still some troublesome species. They call them choke species.
Yeah.
Because there's 26 commercially harvested species of rockfish on the Pacific coast, and out of those, there's certain choke species that, unfortunately, for sustainability, when they've been depleted, you have to rebuild them, and in order to rebuild them, you got to make sure that enough of them stay in the water. So if the fishermen are out there catching, canary rockfish that are sustainable and abundant, but then they catch a bunch of these chili pepper rockfish, or another species that aren't as abundant, or maybe depleted and on a rebuilding program, if they catch too many of those kind of rockfish that are the choke species, then the whole fishery gets shut down so that they don't deplete that species even more. So that's a part of fishery policy. Is it's tricky, and then you also the fishermen need to be smart about where they're fishing and have that experience. And one of the challenges with fishing right now is that a lot of the old timers are retiring, and there's not the younger, newer guys to take it over. And we're going to be losing a lot of that information, a lot of that knowledge, just like in the farming industries, where there's not the newer generation to take over these older farmers that are retirement. So it's the same thing that's happening in the fishing industry. So to answer your question, long-winded again, go Lyf.
Do it, man.
So for the restaurant, a lot of people think that fresh fish is the only way, but that's not the case at all. Frozen fish can be amazing as long as it's harvested properly, handled properly, bled after they caught it, iced, and then processed within a timely manner, vacuum packaged, not freezer burned, all that stuff, come down, never gone up and down in temperature fluctuations. Frozen fish can be awesome. So we use frozen fish for the restaurant because it's consistent, and we know that we need 20 pounds of that each day, or 80 pounds of that if it's for rockfish or whatever for the fish and chips, to sell 200 orders of fish and chips. So the frozen, so we choose items for the restaurant, to answer your question, that we can get, that are abundant, that are of course sustainable, and that are high quality and they taste good. So it's a combination of all those things, and then to stay consistent, because our menu is we do like quarterly menu changes, and then we do specials on the weekends and stuff as well that we can feather, fun stuff in there. But for the consistent everyday menu, we got to make sure that we can get that sockeye salmon and the albacore loins and the rockfish fillet and all those things that are, the shrimp, the wild Mexico shrimp that we use and stuff that are consistent, abundant, and sustainable, and it tastes good. Because if it didn't taste good, people wouldn't come back.
That's right.
No, it's delicious, folks. It really is.
Thank
totally.
you.
There may have been some trivia answers. And
Well, I'm sure that we probably have taken too much of your time. We've got stuff to do. Is there anything you want to talk about for the future?
One thing I wanted to mention is my food tours.
Yes.
Yes.
So I started a little nonprofit, a 501c3, a couple years back, and I do food education and food tours. So I want to share this passion out in the field with people. So, I do oyster farm tours. I take people on fishing trips. My chef Eric England and I are going. We do rafting trips where we do a culinary inspired rafting trip, and you get to catch your own fish, and then we'll cook it for you or make ceviche. Right. So we do that on the Hells Canyon, and we're doing one on Rogue River this year in May, and in June I do Alaska fishing trips, Mexico, international stuff as well. This summer I'm putting together a motorcycle food tour down the Oregon coast. So I'm going to stop at some of my culinary spots and oyster farms along the way. Yeah. In April, we've got an oyster farm tour up in Washington that I just released this week on the website. So it's called Sustainable Fishmonger, and I promote all those trips through my email newsletter through Flying Fish every week. So if you go to my website, flyingfishpdx.com, there should be a little pop-up that comes up that asks you to sign up for the newsletter. And so just sign up for that newsletter, and every Friday morning we send an email out that's got all information about sustainability, and of course about what our fresh list is each week, and then about the field trips and stuff as well. So Sustainable Fishmonger. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of people being able to reach you, can you say the address?
Yes, we're at 3004 East Burnside. 3004. Yep. So it's East Burnside, just below Music Millennium and Laurelhurst Market, across from Whole Foods over here. So just as you're going up Burnside on the right-hand side, big blue building, and Flying Fish Company. Thank you.
Flying Fish Company.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Lyf,
Yeah.
man. That's so
Appreciate you
awesome,
guys.
dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Appreciate you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
you.
Dean, back
Yeah,
there.
thank you.
You guys are gonna keep on doing them, and they're getting. I'm gonna say radder and radder.
Yeah, they are. They are.
No offense to those who came before. There's been some great ones, but So thank you, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks. Smash those likes, subscribe, do all the things. Come see the kids here doing stuff. See you out there. Bees and water, y'all.
Thanks. Oh, that was good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
That was
High
cool.
five.
I think that's the thing is that when you get talking with somebody that you have made friends with,
Sure.
you can just go a little.
Sure.